for joining us here today. Over the next 2 hours, you're going to listen to some excellent knowledge being shared by Skale, Hedera. You will also be listening to over at least five VCs who we have brought here who are together deploying more than $500 million in Web3 and AI and in gaming. And you're also going to be listening to some life lessons from founders in the room. So again, thank you very much everyone for joining us here. So these are all the speakers. You will see them as the night progresses. So I'll quickly skip through that. These are all our ecosystem partners in the past and in future. We will continue to host events with them. These are our media partners. So after the event concludes, you will actually be able to follow the event through the various media partners that we have with us. Moving on, a quick word about Orbis86. We are building cross-chain utilities for Web3 communities. The first product that we're launching is a cross-chain gaming platform. Besides that, all of these events that you see, the things that we do here, they are essentially a part of just our efforts to give back to the ecosystem. So thanks to our sponsors, and I'll be going to the sponsor slide soon, but it's thanks to our sponsors that we are able to put together these community events and provide these events without any cost to the end users. All right, so you can learn about us later on. A special thanks to our host, Ken. Ken, do you want to quickly talk about Offchain?
All right, can people in the back hear me? If you can hear me in the back, clap once. Clap again, I can hear you. Nobody's clapping. There you go. Come on, knows what's going on. We're doing the thing right now, right? Welcome to San Francisco. There you go. I'm Ken. I'm with Offchain. We organize community events like this. We have over 70 chapters around the world, and I'm the San Francisco founder. I grew up in San Francisco. Who here grew up in San Francisco? There you go. We're unicorns, right? But we want to welcome you to our city. It's a beautiful city. It's a beautiful day. Thank you for being here. GDC is an amazing event, so we want to share this with you and really welcome you. Thank you, and I'm not going to talk much. I just want to say appreciate all the community here and support. You're going to have amazing speakers and amazing people you're going to meet, so keep drinking, keep networking. Pizza and alcohol is going to be served. Today's goal is meet a new friend, so that's how I'm going to ask you. So I'm going to hand it back to Sonia.
Thank you, Ken. Moving on. And I want to give a quick shout out to Hedera. You'll hear more from Christian in just a few minutes. But in the meantime, here's a video that will help you learn more about Hedera.
Hedera is the most used, sustainable, public distributed ledger in the world. With use cases from preserving testimony to anchoring warning systems, ensuring the safe storage of vaccines, and allowing us to get back to life as we knew it. Offsetting our carbon footprint while enjoying the new token economy. These are just a few of the game-changing applications built on Hedera, which is governed by the world's leading organizations and fueled by HBAR, the world's greenest cryptocurrency. What future will you build?
And you will learn more about why Hedera is a green chain and some of the details that we showed then in the video and how we can work at gaming on Hedera in about like 20 minutes from now. All right, also a quick thank you to our co-sponsor, GNUS. If I would like to invite Ken to talk about GNUS.
What I decided to do is just kind of talk about it. What we operate is, we have a AI infrastructure, also known as a DPIN, a decentralized physical infrastructure network. And what that does is that it allows you to run AI on any device, including your iPhone and all that. And in the meantime, for the game developers, they can actually earn tokens while their game players are playing the game. So we give you a monetization channel that you can split with a game player. And that allows you to basically come in and you can strip out ads and things like that because there's no reason to monetize anymore because it all happens in the background using the blockchain transactions. So we have a booth here. If you want to come by, S1265, and we can talk about it. We have free t-shirts, but in general, it's kind of 8 years of my life in the GNUS.AI stuff. So we just launched recently, about 2 weeks ago, our token, and it's available online now. And through Uniswap and through BitSmart. So we went on a centralized exchange in about 2 weeks. So, but here we are today at the Game Developers Conference, because I have been in the game industry a long time. And you can look me up on Moby Games and see all the games I worked on, including programming, executive producer, and all that. So I wanted to bring this to the gaming community to help them basically make great games and not have to worry about monetizing at all. So we handle everything for you underneath. We handle everything underneath for you to enter the blockchain and exit the blockchain. And we're multi-chain too. So you can go to any chain you want. It depends on where the user wants to send the token or the NFT to. So yeah, that's genius. Come by and check it out, and you can get some free shirts and things like that. So thank you for your time.
All right, so we'll hear more from Ken also as the day progresses. And want to give a quick shout out to Codi. The mic here. Pranav, thank you.
So for those of you that don't know Codi, the one question I have for you is, if you've ever searched for an office space in any place across the United States, you know how much of a hassle it is. It takes away a lot of your productive hours. It takes away a lot of the things that you can be doing to grow your business. And so the traditional options you have right now are commercial real estate or co-working in the form of WeWork. And obviously, each of them come with their own downfalls. Commercial real estate makes you sign leases for 5 years. WeWork doesn't give you a private space to grow your business. And that's where Codi comes in. I would call Codi an office as a service platform. And what that means is that we don't just help you find spaces. We also help you manage your office. We help you with things like, I don't know, your coffee machine, getting coffee pods, getting tea, getting your sparkling water restocked. We do all of that for you. We help you clean your spaces. We do everything. And the biggest value add from Codi is the fact that you get your own private office to build your own culture in. And you also have the opportunity to, have your own space and grow your business from outside of your space. One thing that I did want to point out is that we currently have a promotion going on. So if you know anyone that's looking for an office space and you refer them to the Codi program, you get $100, and the person you refer to gets up to $2,500 off their first month's rent. So if you know anybody else around you that's searching for an office space, feel free to let them know about Codi. You can scan that QR code and that'll take you to our website, and that'll have all the information you need regarding Codi. Thank you, guys.
We also again want to thank some of our other media partners. I know you will be hearing from Mel from Blockchain Game Alliance later on. You can also grab some cool swag. The Coin Republic are media partners for the past 2 years. Langrenus Fund, they are a VC actively deploying. They're not here, but they also host a bunch of events. And finally, Mobile Growth Association, that is a non-profit hosting a bunch of events and also bringing community members together, especially focused on mobile games. And with that, I would love to invite Jack. Jack is the founder, the co-founder and CEO of Skale. You want to bet?
Hey everybody, how are you doing? Okay, can you hear me in the back? Thank you, great. All right, so I'm curious about who's here today. Who works in Web3? All right, awesome. Who works in gaming? All right, that's a great overlap for this talk. Excellent. Who here is a builder or developer of a game? Okay, awesome. All right, well, my goal today is to talk a bit about where the industry is today, talk about some trends and some patterns I'm seeing that are making certain game developers and Web3 projects very successful, whereas others I don't think are following so closely on that trend. So, quick question, if you rewind back a year ago to GDC, any thoughts on what if you talk to a non-Web3 fan, what is it that they don't like about Web3 gaming if you're at GDC? Any thoughts? Scammy, okay. Anything else? Terrible UX, all right.
Bad quality.
Yeah, not fun. And the reality is they were right, usually. But that's changed dramatically now. And one thing I'm noticing, there's a new trend. People that are trying to knock us down, they're always trying to come up with new ammo, new angles, and oftentimes these things are founded somewhat in truth. And the thing I've been hearing lately is, hey, why is this even a blockchain game? It is even using blockchain? It's this really fun game, but does it have any core principles of blockchain? And so I'm going to talk a little bit about that today, because personally, I see a whole mix of execution and how blockchain's utilized. And I think there's some really interesting trends. The successful developers I talk to are asking themselves the right questions, saying, why Web3 gaming, okay? Like, what are the core principles I care about? Why am I using a blockchain? How important is the onboarding experience as I think about the design of this blockchain? How will I use NFTs in the game? What pieces of the game are actually critical to put on chain? And how is that going to impact the user experience? How efficient will this implementation be? What's that going to do to friction? And how do I help people custody assets? Am I only going to have people that know how to use MetaMask and Ledger, or am I going to open up to a world of gamers? So I like to say, personally, anchoring into the core principles is the absolute thing to do if you're building a Web3 game. Ideally, and I don't think even ideally, but you have to be able to do that without hurting the user experience. And before, this was just not possible. But being able to put important events on chain that are happening within the game, being able to utilize smart contracts and escrows as part of the game, having NFTs that aren't just sitting somewhere but actually are integrated into gameplay, being able to transfer ownership quickly. There's a game called Stray Shot where someone could just, all right, sorry. A player can, grabs a gun, all of a sudden that's recorded on chain. That person has that NFT asset in their wallet. It can do things, that has certain properties, certain rarity levels, certain functionality. But also using it as a transparent and immutable database for critical things that people care about. You don't have to put everything on chain, but there's certain things that are important. Okay. What's not a Web3 game, or not the ideal Web3 game? And you see, people building a Web2 game, sell some NFTs, keep them in an omnibus storage wallet, which is literally just a single wallet, and they just sit there. And maybe someone wants to bridge out with them, and they can make that call and go somewhere else and move them to an exchange. But otherwise, you're really just kind of pretending it's Web3 while selling some NFTs. Okay. And there's zero on-chain gaming components. The other piece of this too is, I think if you're doing this and then you're actually not using a decentralized blockchain, it's hard to be true to core principles of blockchain without using decentralized infrastructure. Okay. So I see this as these two axes where one, user experience is the vertical axis. So do you have a good UX? Do you have a bad UX? And then use of blockchain. Is there low use or high use of blockchain? And we were at this place where we had a lot of games out there that really used blockchain, but hardly anyone played them. They weren't very good, okay? That's where we were. And I think there are a lot of lessons learned. And people said, hey, we got to remove that friction. Let's do these other things. But sometimes we've lost ourselves. We've gotten too far away from the core principles. And where most developers I've seen, not most, but many are living in this upper left quadrant. Where we're trying to get to is this great UX with a high utilization of blockchain and keeping true to core principles, okay? Giving these values to our players, giving developers, enabling their community to reap the benefits of actually using a Web3 product. But how do we do that, okay? So one piece, removing gas fees. There's a lot of ways to do this, but when you can remove the concept of a gas fee for a user, you can enable a true, free-to-play gaming experience. Oftentimes, it's that first step that kills things. Okay, I'm going to play, and now I'm getting pushed over to a Discord server, and I have to authenticate. Then I have to go over to a faucet and try to, get some gas, or I have to go and try to acquire some tokens, get them in my wallet so I can start playing. That's a non-starter for anybody who knows how, critical the first minute or two of any player who downloads a game is to, have that type of conversion. But when you remove gas fees, you can use the blockchain just for a far greater extent, okay? So maybe your decision criteria when you're paying 10 cents or 20 cents or 2 cents or 1 cent a transaction is, well, we actually can't put that on chain. We might have 2 million players playing. concurrently, we're not going to pay 1 cent for all of these actions. And so you end up having to strip down and go further to the left side of that quadrant, right? And so when you remove the fees, there's just so much more you can do that are sticking to the true principles. One thing about gas fees is if you look at the layer 1 model, what's happening is blockchains are actually selling block space to end users. Okay, so in a way, that's why you see these huge aggressive grant programs where their chains are willing to give applications or games huge amounts of money because they want the users paying them. They're selling block space, okay? And if you take an Uber or a Lyft or if you play Supercell, you're not paying the AWS fee, you're not paying a Google Cloud fee, right? That happens in the back end, right? In a way too where there's good unit economics. A zero gas fee model, and this is what Skale enables, so there's a fee that is paid by developers to effectively reserve space in the chain. And it can be utilized then up to certain capacity that you're renting, and there's other non-monetary fee component or gas replacements called S-Fuel that can live in an invisible fashion that prevent DOSing and spam. But by enabling a different model, you can achieve better unit economics than just using a gas relayer, and or remove all the friction and complexity that comes with end users having to effectively pay their own server fees or infrastructure fees. Okay. Another piece of this is when you kind of remove these barriers, you can unlock a lot more capability. So NFTs, and you can do that more so by having also instant finality. It enables on-chain mechanics to work more effectively within the gameplay. If you have huge latency and really slow block times, it's hard to actually have that, have meaningful finality within the gameplay. The other piece is having larger block sizes and doing more like with gas or no gas. But when you have that, you can actually be dramatically more impactful with what you can actually code into a smart contract. Okay, so we see that a lot with Skale as the block sizes are dramatically larger in terms of developers' ability to utilize computation. I just have some metrics. This isn't a Skale shill. I'm talking about design, but by having incredibly fast finality, high throughput, it opens up new opportunities to be in the upper right of the quadrant, like using the blockchain and removing UX friction. And these numbers, I have to say, and we're usually in the top 2 to 10 of all blockchains in terms of unique active wallets and transactions, but there's also a lot of other chains and builders out there that are doing well. I'll give props to other people as well, but these numbers, like to have 7.7 million wallets in a month, like a year and a half ago, just no one would even think that. And other chains are also hitting these success milestones. But we've had over 335 million on-chain transactions since inception. We've had over 5.6 billion in gas fees saved since the network launch. So the interesting thing here is by unlocking more use cases for a blockchain, you actually unlock more opportunities for developers to give transparent, immutable, trustless services within their games to players or within AI apps, et cetera. So that's also another reason here. There's more use cases for blockchain when you don't have those fees. And also just want to give a shout out. I've seen some people here today who are building on Skale. This is all, props to you. We're here to support you. But there's some great builders building in the ecosystem. Okay, in closing, just want to say, I think the time is now. And the camp before there was the gaming world and Web3 gaming world. These circles are finally truly overlapping, and our camp is getting far bigger. And it's also, the lines are blurring about what's what. You can actually, play some phenomenal games with good UX, with great on-chain experience. So, okay, thanks everybody. Appreciate it.
We can take a question. We can take one question. If anyone has a question, just let us know. Any questions for Jack? All right, we have Alex. Yeah.
I'm just curious if you would talk a little bit more about, I'm making a trading card game. Biggest cost I see with things on chain are both players trading cards, and if I have 10 million players and they make 5 trades a day, that's very expensive on some chains. Yep. And then in terms of putting games on chain, the finality is 2 seconds. So we could record a game, but the game can't actually be played on chain. So I'm curious what my costs would look like.
Yeah, you'd be renting a piece of a server, so it might be thousands of dollars of Scale tokens a month to get the type of capacity you're talking about. And the interesting thing is all of a sudden you could say, what we see with card games is oftentimes it's just, who's trading? But that actual decision of here's what I'm playing, here's my lead card, here's the other cards that are going, and being able to transparently and trustlessly show that logic. And so after the game, as you win or lose, you can actually go and see that on chain. You're not just trusting this Web2 system to that it recorded things effectively, or that these things happened that impacted money or ownership of assets. So all of a sudden you open up more use cases and ability to see things and post them into this transparent database. I'd love to hear more about your game later.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. All right, thank you.
Very excited for this next panel. I have Christian here. I'll actually sit there. So, sorry. I have Christian here joining us.
I feel like Taylor Swift,
yeah,
but I won't start singing.
So after
Or
Jack,
maybe I will.
all right, so I'm extremely excited to host Christian here. Christian is the CMO of Hedera. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and introduce Hedera to the audience? But before you do that, guys, how many here already know Hedera? Okay, all right. So we have a good audience to educate.
That's good. We need to educate the other 50% though.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so my name is Christian Hasker. I've been in the Hedera ecosystem since the inception, which was in 2018. It's been an incredible journey. Hedera is a layer 1 public ledger or blockchain. There are a couple of things that make it unique. One is that instead of being governed by anonymous individuals, it is governed by a group of large enterprises and universities called the Hedera Governing Council. They are responsible for governing the code base, managing the treasury, and making core decisions over the future of the project. It's modeled on the Visa governance model, but it's been taken, instead of just being financial companies, it is companies across different industries, different geographies, and then to ensure that they cannot exert undue power and influence, they're also term limited. So they can only serve a maximum of 2 3-year terms on the council. The other thing that makes Hedera unique is, while we talk about it as a public blockchain, it's actually built on an alternative technology to blockchain, which is called Hashgraph. And Hashgraph has some very interesting properties, and some interesting properties when it comes to gaming, actually. So it has incredible throughput, it has low latency, it also has this concept of fair ordering. So the way that you submit transactions to the network, that is the way that the network processes them and puts them in order. So there's no notion of mining pools and where you then submit to a mempool, it waits, if you pay more money, it goes to the front of the queue. Everything is processed as it comes into the network. We also have fixed low fees. So some of the things that Jack was talking about in the previous presentation about the need for gasless fees, transactions on Hedera are 1/100th of a penny, always, because we fix our fees in dollars. So it doesn't matter what's happening to the price of our cryptocurrency, you as an individual always know as a developer what you need to pay. So that's quick Hedera.
That's great.
Rundown.
I know there are a few people in the room who already know about Hedera, right? It's a quick pop quiz. we know that Ethereum recently crossed 2 billion transactions. On Bitcoin also, we are close to 2 billion transactions now, and Bitcoin was launched in 2009. So pop quiz, how many transactions do you think have been processed on Hedera's mainnet? Take a wild guess. 10 billion, okay. Anyone else? 1 million, 2 million, 1 trillion?
Well, not 1 trillion. Yet.
Yet. Well, the answer is 40 billion transactions, 40 billion plus transactions. And the cost to process most of those transactions averages out to $0.0001. Yep, that's how efficient the network is. So with that in mind, let's start talking about gaming, right? Like, what aspects of Hedera makes it unique, or makes it attractive to gamers to come and build on Hedera?
Yeah. So there are 3 services on Hedera. One is the Hedera Consensus Service. I'll talk about that. That is unique in the industry. Then we have the Hedera Token Service and the Hedera Smart Contract Service. Games are, data intensive, and some of the data you may want to put into an immutable system. For example, there is a problem in the HTML5 game industry where the actual leaderboards get hacked. So you have people that spend a ton of time playing these games, rising up the leaderboards, and then the leaderboard gets hacked, they get wiped out, and you really have nothing to show for all your efforts. If you write that data, that leaderboard, to Hedera via the Hedera Consensus Service, it becomes immutable. No one can hack it. So that's a nice thing where the game itself can be a total Web2 game, and you're using the benefits of what the Hedera network to solve a discrete problem. Another thing is random number generation. That's hard in game developers. On Hedera, we have a very robust random number generation system. And then, of course, if you want to do something with tokens, then you need a fast, cheap way to mint tokens, exchange those tokens, and make them valuable to your game users. And again, due to the low cost, the fast throughput, Hedera really excels there.
As a follow-up question, I would like to ask you that, could you share an example of a game built on Hedera that is probably one of the best known games within the Hedera ecosystem and also outside?
Yeah, so there are some promising game studios that are building native Web3 games in a multi-entertainment mode, and there'll be some announcements throughout the year around some of those. But today, I would say the fastest growing game on Hedera, and one of the fastest in Web3, is not actually a game that you play on your computer. It is an alternative to mixed martial arts or UFC, and it's called Karate Combat. And Karate Combat blends this amazing entertainment offering, which is going and watching a physical fight, with gaming aspects on Web3. So before each fight, you get to use your tokens. So everything is fan-owned and fan-grown and fan-engaged. So they do something called up-only gaming. When you sign up for Karate Combat, they'll give you a few of their tokens. Then when they announce their fighters, you can bet on their fighters, and you cannot lose. That's why it's called up-only gaming. So if you pick the right fights and the right winners, then you win more tokens. If you lose, you don't lose anything. So this gets people excited and involved.
Let me ask one question, sorry to interrupt you there. This shows how Web3 degen you are, okay? This is a question for the audience. How many of you saw BitBoy taking down another OG a couple of weeks back? It was all over Twitter.
In Mexico City,
a fight.
that was. Yeah.
How can you put your hands up? How many of you? Okay, quite a few people in the room. That was Karate Combat. That's the game that we're talking about. And they are also taking this alternative fighting to consensus. And if anyone is heading to Dubai Token 2049, they're going to be there as well. So you can watch our Web3 influencers also battle out each other along with real MMA, UFC, mixed martial art fighters.
Yeah, all their fights are on YouTube. And I'm not that into MMA, but I've watched some UFC, and they put out a really good product. The fights are really good. And then because everything is fan-owned, they put votes out to the community, so you get involved on molding the future of karate combat, and you're a part owner. So that is so revolutionary, because if you look at all of the major sports franchises, they are owned by very few people who make outsized rewards. And here you have a league that from its inception has been grown as being fan-owned, which I think is the way forward.
The other thing that I would like to ask you is, the event is focused on Web3 and AI. So what particular role do you see AI playing in Web3, as well as how can it advance gaming with the support of Web3, this decentralized web that we have, the low-cost transactions we are talking about? What role do you see AI playing in the mix?
Yeah. So, for example, Sony PlayStation will not let their game developers leverage AI in any way, because they do not know if they are infringing on someone else's IP in doing that. So earlier we had a show of hands of game developers. Your IP is out in the public domain. If it's out in the public domain, it can be used as the basis for a large language model for training AI, which then uses your hard work to go generate AI that other game developers can use. Now, in a way, that is great, because it allows us all to be more creative and develop faster and get to market faster, and quality goes up. But it is also terrible because you are not being justly compensated for your IP. So if your IP shows up in another game, you should get a little bit of a reward every time that IP is leveraged and logged. And it might be a fraction of a penny, but over time, it could really add up. That type of royalty system is a perfect use case for Web3 and a perfect use case for Hedera, because it's so high throughput, it can do these micro payments at a very low cost. So you can be paid out 1 cent because it costs 1/100th of a penny to transfer that to you. And I think when we think about the convergence of gaming, entertainment in general, not just gaming, movies, writing, songs, everything, AI, we cannot escape it. We should find ways to embrace it, but we should also put an economic model and incentive in place where the playing field is level. And that is a real concern, that we don't yet have those systems in place, and therefore, you're not able to profit in that boom. But it's coming.
So obviously, with AI, the origins of the data would also be something people would be looking for. We already know, if anyone here, creators using Adobe Suite, they have been trying to tag data origin, so you know that, okay, this was really created by a creator, and it's not just work of AI. Similarly, along with logging proof to the blockchain, immutable data storage on blockchain is also going to become a thing. And Hedera just recently launched a new standard, HCS5, which allows people to store data on chain at extremely low costs. So feel free to go and explore that too.
So something really cool with that's happening on Hedera, there's an organization called Equity Lab, EQTY lab.io. They have an end-to-end AI framework, which they can even install at the chip level, so that the chip that's actually processing the large language model can write to Hedera immediately from that. And therefore, there's no place that it could have been manipulated in flight because it's at the actual chip level doing the processing. So things like this are going to be, revolutionary.
And finally, in closing, because we're almost nearing the end of
We're
time.
rocking it on time.
We'll block it out here. So my final question to you would be, we have a lot of gamers in the room, builders in the room, I assume. Okay, how many people here are building games? You're gamers, you are here to understand how the different folks in the ecosystem can support you. Any builders in the room? Yeah, we have a few hands up. The rest of the folks are still thinking that, hey, should we take the dive or not? But if you're ready to take the dive, my question to you, Christian, is Hedera, how does it support gamers and builders?
Yes, so we have an ecosystem. So there are actually, you can see them all on here. So I actually work for Swirlds Labs. Swirlds Labs builds the technology and markets the technology that underpins Hedera. Then we have these two organizations, the HBAR Foundation and the Hashgraph Association. They are two grant-giving organizations. So if you have a game that you are building on Hedera and it's gaining some traction and you need some financing to get it to the next level, these are the two organizations to go to and that they will support you in that journey.
Thank you, Christian. Any closing thoughts, closing remarks before we throw out?
I want to thank you.
audience?
You're always a great interviewer. I
Thank
appreciate
you,
it.
Christian. So we have time for one audience question, one or two maybe, but we'll
Make
start
it
with
an
at least
amazing one.
maybe an amazing
Stump
one.
me.
My request to anyone asking the question would be, try to see if you can keep it under 30 seconds, okay? So then we can take a minute to answer that question. Anyone in the audience who has a question for Christian? Oh, we have one right here. Let's give it to the lady.
I heard that you have the immutable system. Can you please elaborate on that? Because I heard also, like, for example, the other immutable kind of like platform to build on top of that.
Yeah, so every blockchain, when you write the data to the blockchain, no one can change that data. What we have at Hedera is this service called the Hedera Consensus Service that is designed, it's a very lightweight service. So if you have a centralized database today, you can connect to Hedera and you can write a hash of that data to Hedera. Not the data itself. The data stays in your database, but you create a hash, put that on Hedera, and now you have a proof that that data, let's say it's you paid a user and you want a receipt of that. So your payment will stay on your own payment processing platform, but you'll create a hash of that data, put it on Hedera with a pointer, and now you have an immutable receipt of that transaction forevermore, even though the transaction itself didn't happen on Hedera.
Is it like immutable.com?
It's more like if you think about a message queue like Kafka, it's like a decentralized Kafka, right? Where you can write these messages to Hedera. It can be a message on anything. Sonia referenced this new standard. The community has come together on a way to use the Hedera Consensus Service to write these loyalty type tokens to Hedera. So it's a very, very flexible system.
Thank you, Christian.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone, for being such a great
Thank you,
audience.
Sonia.
Give a clap for yourself. Thank you. All right, and I would love to invite our next beautiful moderator, my friend, Monica.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Game On with AI and Web3, a pivotal discussion at the intersection of groundbreaking technologies and the future of gaming. My name is Monica Zhou. I'm the VP of Marketing at Meadow Entertainment, and we are a Web3 game studio developing and publishing games for world-renowned sports IPs such as NBA, bringing an innovative and immersive gaming experience to the sports fans. I'm happy to be your moderator for this panel. Is it? Okay. So tonight we're joined by a distinguished panel of innovators and visionaries who are at the forefront of integrating AI and Web3 into the gaming experience. They're not just shaping the future, they're creating it with every code, concept, and creation. From enhancing gameplay with AI to leveraging blockchain for more immersive and fair gaming environments, our speakers will share their insights, challenges, and endless opportunities that lie ahead. So without further ado, let's get started. I'd first like to ask each of our panelists to introduce yourself. Please share a bit about your background and work you are currently doing. Let's start with Antika.
Hi everyone, I'm Ankita Verma. I'm the co-founder CEO of Persona. And at Persona, we are building Web3's first native ad network. So a simple way to understand us is we are Google AdSense, but we are building natively for Web3. So advertisers can come in and they can create campaigns and they can put in their ads on high quality Web3 applications and they can target users on the basis of what's in their wallet. So what that results is very hyper personalized, very targeted ads. And Web3 dApps, they can also monetize their applications with us by coming, integrating our SDK, and showing ads on their platform.
Thank you, Antika. Yeah?
Hi, I'm Christina. I'm the COO and co-founder of ReadyGG. Essentially, what we've built is a game development layer 3. The way to think about it is everything you need as a game developer or have been using in Web 2, we've brought it into Web 3. And essentially everything we think is going to power new economies in Web 3, we built it. So one of the things I think for us that's going to really power new economies in Web 3 is UGC. Thinking about the marketplace as a place to bring player creators into the space and how developers look at their games as these mini real estates that they can certainly monetize and bring player creators into that space. That's one of the features that we're enabling. But essentially what we want to do is empower Web 2 developers to come into Web 3 and just keep on building amazing fun games.
Thank you, Christina. Martin?
I'm Martin Espineto, and I don't know how to use headset, so sorry about that. I founded my company, my developing company 12 years ago, so I've been developing more than 30 mobile games in these years. Before that, I used to be the marketing director for the LATAM region for Microsoft for many years, and I also am the founder of Gamevolution, which is a blockchain incubator for gaming companies that we founded with a separated team 2 years ago, and we are helping, let's say, traditional gaming developers to implement this beautiful technology, and we are starting to do the same with AI.
Thank you, Martin. Last panelist, Kenneth?
Hi. If you heard me earlier, I was talking about Genius, so I don't want to rehash all that stuff, but I was in the game industry for a long time, and this is project is kind of interesting because I'm trying to kill bad game experience, basically, and through not using AI to do that, but more using AI as kind of a payment system so that you don't have to try to monetize your games, and that way you can just make great games. And so, like I said, I've been doing it for a long time. I have a lot of games under my belt, and I really liked it when we could just write the game and not have to worry about monetization. You'd buy $20, and that was it. So, so that's Genius, and like I said, we're at the booth, and you can come by, or I'll hang around for a little bit if anybody has any questions about it.
I'd love to hear more about that. So, Antika, my first question is for you. So, in the context of user acquisition for Web3 games, could you share your thoughts on how AI can enhance the efficiency of the customer funnel? What strategies have you found to be most effective in attracting and retaining players in the Web3 eco?
Well, that's a hard one. So when you think about user acquisition for Web3 games, I would say it's not very different from user acquisition for any game, right? Web3 game is just a game, but it's built on a different kind of technology. So if you really break down user acquisition, I like to look at the customer funnel in itself. So there at a high level, there are 4 different phases of it. So one is the discovery of your game. The second is user seeing it, liking it, and then clicking on it or coming on your platform to check it out. Third is engagement, where they like what they check out and then they really engage with it. And fourth is retention, which is like they continue to come back and keep engaging with your game. So if you ask me about the right strategies, I would say, first of all, the discovery part of it. So who is the right audience that you are reaching out to when it comes to discovery? And especially for Web3 games, it becomes very tricky because that entire journey of a user onboarding onto a Web3 game is hard. They have to create a wallet. They have to, understand a lot of technology that lies underneath it, because the user experience in the games or in Web3 in general, it's not at that par yet where everything is abstracted. So first and foremost, you have to make sure that that onboarding part or the onboarding aspect of it is as abstracted as possible. They don't have to deal with the technicalities of creating a wallet or like gas fee, as Jack was mentioning in the one of the previous sessions. So making it very simple for users. Second is reaching the right audience. So again, like, who are you reaching out to? Are you reaching out in a very, very targeted manner? Because if for a Web3 game, if you reach out to Web2 users at scale, they might never end up converting. They might never have used a wallet. They might never have heard of your game. They might see your ad. They might never convert. So reaching out to the right audience, that's where, persona also comes into play, where persona helps you reach out to the Web3 audience, the Web3 gamers that are engaged, and they look at the ad and then they click on it and they come and play your game. So that is the second aspect of it. And then the part about like engagement and retention. So first of all, the thing is, make good games. One of the things that's missing in Web3 today is really engaging games. Even if you get users to come to your platform, they might not play your game, they might not stick around because the game is not engaging enough. So make engaging games, make better games. And then the retention part. So here, be very careful about what kind of audience you're reaching out to. One of the biggest challenges in Web3 is bot traffic, because there are these people who come here for rewards. They get the reward and then they leave your system and they never come back. These are essentially dead bait on your game. So making sure that your audience is like a real audience. These are not quest hunters, these are not reward hunters. And that's where actually AI comes into picture, where it helps you reach out to the right audience and make sure that these are real users that are actually coming and engaging on your platform.
Thank you, Antigua. I'm really looking forward to our persona can help with the onboarding, more at the user than gamers to the Web3 space. So my next question is for Christina. So with ReadyGG enabling multi-chain game development, which is a significant step forward for the industry, how does AI come into play to facilitate this process? And could you provide insights into the role AI plays in overcoming the technical and operational challenges associated with multi-chain development?
Sure. It's definitely a lot of words, right? But simply, what developers didn't want to do is build, they didn't want to build on just one blockchain. They didn't want to build themselves on another walled garden, right? So when we were thinking about how to build our tech, we were thinking of how to enable developers to build or utilize as many blockchains as they wanted to. And the idea here is that when we're talking about multi-chain, chain agnostic, what we're really saying is that developers are also looking at blockchain as an extension of their publishing strategy, right? They're also tapping in different demographics. Some blockchains are very globalized, and it is even an extension of their globalization strategy. So when we were thinking about how to utilize AI in sort of the aspects of us as a layer 3, what we envision or what we have built is that for developers, we want it to be super simple. You're ready to mint a collection? Great. Our tooling is going to tell you which, top 3 blockchains you should consider. Why? Cheapest, latency, demographic, globalization. How does that really impact the current game that you have? And that's sort of the revolutionary part that we want to introduce, and the power we want to give to developers as to which blockchain they should utilize at the moment that they need to mint whatever they need to mint, not affecting their game, and most importantly, never affecting the experience of the player. So that's, I think something quite novel.
Yeah, very interesting to know more about that. I think my development team will be super happy about that. All right, so my next question is for Martin. So I want to talk about storytelling. So storytelling in games is evolving, which with AI playing a very significant role. So in your view, could AI serve as an effective storyteller within the gaming context? And how might AI-driven narratives differ from traditional storytelling? And what unique opportunities could they present for engaging players?
100%. We definitely believe that AI will be the next way of telling great stories. We definitely believe, and we can all agree that video games is an excellent way to create great storytelling, and definitely it is the most interactive way to tell a story. And so, we are building Live Meta. Basically, it's a social simulator game that we have been working for 2 years now. And at the beginning, we didn't know about AI. Everything was scripted, and all the narrative and different character was really scripted. And suddenly, everything exploded. And ChatGPT, and everyone was playing around ChatGPT 2 years ago. And suddenly, we thought, you know what? Why we kind of create these beautiful characters, but not only with the AI, but also with different characteristical personalities and also backstories. So we started doing that, and we found out that is the best way that you can deliver a message. And we put also the player in the position that it's not only the storytelling, it's also the way that you ask the AI, the way you ask this character, because AI will always have the answer on the other end, but it's actually us to make the right question. And how do you deliver that story, asking the right question? So definitely super, exciting. It's something that we are working on. Definitely we are delivering also emotional content. So it's very fun to understand what is going on there. And also, could we create emotional feelings with great story through AI? That is something that we will find out in our game.
That's very interesting. I was actually talking to another team, so they have an AI model to generate a AI companion for the players to express their emotion and feelings. I think that's the right way to go. Yeah, thanks for sharing. And Kenneth, so my question for you is, with your expertise in AI-driven analytics at GNUS.AI, could you share how advanced analytics are transforming our understanding of player behavior and preferences? How does this intelligence allow developers to tailor gaming experiences more effectively?
Yeah, from our side of it, it's like if you're a gamer and you want to store your analytics, right, then you can actually use all the computers that are on your game to actually process those analytics with like machine learning. And you can have this constant feedback loop for that. And so that's kind of how we enter the analytics space, and everybody's mentioned, how they integrate AI, and we're kind of providing the base resources for that, but we're also providing cross-chain compatibility so that you can take your tokens out of that system into anything you want, and we leave it up to the user to extract it. And it's like, what chain do you want to go to? So the developer no longer has to choose a particular chain, and we roll them up with like multiple ones. So it helps because the system has analytics kind of as part of how the blockchain works and logging. It's all immutable logging that happens, and that's the same thing with analytics. You want an immutable kind of logging system, and then you can sit there and feed that data right back into AI and figure out, you could do it real time. I mean, I talked to somebody today that was talking about user-generated content, where they can basically, they're going to user-generated content, but AI generating it, they're going to hit like 200,000 generations, per hour, and it's like, wow. So you need the infrastructure for that. So I think it's all over the place with AI. I mean, they talked about user acquisitions, and it's going to make it very big for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the most infrastructure, for this new trend. All right, and Antika, so my next question for you is, building on the transformative potential of blockchain and decentralized platforms, could you elaborate on how these technologies are reshaping the gaming landscape, and what opportunities do they create for developers and players, and how does Persona particularly navigate these changes?
I would like to answer
I'm sorry,
that.
we don't have to, so if you can keep it simple and short, that would be great, so that each of us can have another.
Yeah, so I'll make it quick. I think I just wanted to answer that with a very small story. I am a big loyal customer of Bluestone Lane, and Bluestone Lane is a very popular coffee shop in SF. So last month they decided to update their app, and when they updated their app, all my loyalty points were gone. Poof. I had no reproach, nobody to ask what happened, and it was just gone. So to answer that question, I would say the biggest thing that blockchain brings in is ownership. As a gamer, I spend a lot on every game that I play, right? And those assets in a Web2 game, they typically remain within the game. But with Web3 and the blockchain technology, I own those assets. I can I can take those assets out, I can sell, I can trade, I can use it in other games through interoperability. So I would say ownership is the biggest thing that blockchain brings in. And then apart from that, of course, transparency. Everything is on the chain, everything is immutable. So cheating, fair play, transparency of a transaction, all of it is on the chain. So the game becomes intrinsically more fair. And as a developer, I have different ways to monetize my game now, through NFTs, through tokens. So it just makes the entire ecosystem more dynamic, more helpful for the developers, more helpful for the players. And I think I would just wrap it there.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. So Christina, so ReadyGG is known for building advanced UGC systems for games. So how does AI leveraged within the systems to bolster the creator economy, and what impact do you foresee AI having on those democratization of game development and content creation?
I mean, part of what we want to enable in the creator economy is also just really having players be part of the creation in the games. So when we talk about the player creator, this is really a creator that's being generated part of the gaming experience. And part of that is that a lot of these creators want to be creators in that particular game because they love the IP of the game. And now with our technology, developers are opening up the real estate of their game, or opening up their games to have these players, you know, become really integrated fans of the game by becoming creators. All of this to say is that these are not necessarily professional creators. They can't necessarily take a pencil, you know, and draw on their iPad something beautiful that can be used in the game. But they may have, one, amazing assets that they already own in their wallet, for example, and two, maybe really great ideas of what they would love to use in the game. This is where AI kind of takes into play. Using your voice, speaking to the AI agent or our UGC AI agent, and having that opportunity to create something that without this AI agent, you could only really dream of. So what we want to do is take those thoughts and allow players to create something in the game without the inability of that skill. It's really the AI enabling it and now bringing amazing content, you know, in the game itself. So shortly, it's just allowing non-professional creators, but player creators who are fanning of the game, allowing them to create something that they really love for the game that they love.
Yeah, so everybody can have our own version of the game, right? Yeah, that's very fascinating. All right, so Martin, so the concept of the players building a relationship with NPCs is both fascinating and complex. So based on your work with Lives Matter, do you believe it's feasible for players to forge the meaningful connections with AI-driven NPC characters? What elements are crucial to make these relationships feel genuine and impactful?
Yeah, definitely. The question is always, you know, can you fall in love with AI? And the reality is that you can. Is that a good thing? I wouldn't dare to ask that question because actually we don't know. But I believe that if you have great characters and you have this interactive relationship with them, and you, especially if you're talking about, you know, sentimental things, most of the research is showing that the player starts to feel this emotional connection with the AI. So it's crazy, you know, we do have also like a responsibility in that sense. And it happened, I'm not going to name the company, but it happened in the past that, for instance, in Italy, I remember that the privacy, you know, law changed, and they could store more information about the user. So suddenly, you know, you have all these people chatting and having this very spicy conversation with the AI. And suddenly the AI start ghosting everyone, and they were super mad. What happened? You know, I spent 1 year talking with you, and now you're ghosting me. And they were so you do have a responsibility on what you're making on, you know, feeling the player in that sense. So to be honest, we don't know exactly where the rabbit hole goes, something like that. You get the picture, but definitely it's worth trying, and it's a way to deliver great messages and great interactive stories. But we have to do that with, you know, responsibility as well.
All right. Thank you. And Kenneth, as we navigate the landscape of gaming, the integration of AI into player engagement and retention strategies becomes so critical. Can you discuss some innovative ways GNUS.AI employs AI to enhance player engagement and foster long-term retention in games?
Well, for us, it's actually the player retention's kind of very dynamic because we want anybody that's playing becomes a node in the network, and if they exit the game, then they're no longer a node in the network. So it's very dynamic. So it's hard for us to kind of calculate, how to get user attention for games specifically, but we kind of remove the necessity for you to actually even worry about the acquisition, because if you have 100 users, daily active users, you can still make money, and if another game has 1 million daily active users, they're driving the price of your token up as well, because it's like the network effect. So we kind of try to take it out of the equation completely, so you don't have to worry about acquisition.
All right. As we draw our discussion to a close, I'd like to ask each of our panelists one final question. So looking forward to the year of 2024, what is one development trend or innovation with the AI and Web3 gaming space that you are most excited about? I'll start with Antika.
That's a good one. I'm very, very excited about two things. One is much better and more engaging Web3 games, as I was speaking before. That's something which is missing in the Web3 gaming industry today. There are very handful of games which are actually engaging, which have active users. And we know that, since the last bear market, a lot of games have been now. We're looking forward to all those games coming out in the market. The second is AI games. So one of the very important aspects of games is the characters, the entire story, the entire creatives within game. And AI can ensure that the story that is being told, the characters that are being highlighted in the game, LLM and ChatGPT and Midjourney, all of that can play a really huge role in making sure that anybody can create these. It's democratizing the game design, the game storyline creation and all of that. So very excited to see how making games easier to build and making games more engaging.
What am I most excited about is definitely, I think, having more opportunities for games to include UGC and true UGC. One of the things, that we're always thriving at ReadyGG is to get the relationship of the player closer to that of the developer. We want more players to have an impact in the games that are being built. We want players to have more of an ownership even in the games. What we want to see is that relationship get closer. And I think UGC is going to allow for that. As developers open up their games, as developers include marketplaces into their games, marketplaces also sort of enable conversation between players, between the player and the developer. It's very interesting. So as the space opens up, it actually gets the two sort of communities closer together building. And that's definitely what I'm most excited about, is finally getting the ones that build the games closer to the ones that play and love them. And that's really interesting to me.
Short and sweet, right? Yeah. Okay. Personality traits and long-term memory on AI. What is going to happen? How we are going to evolve those relationships, if we can call them relationships, and see what happens. Yeah, definitely.
For me, I kind of agree with the user-generated content, because my daughter was making these amazing houses in Roblox and couldn't sell them. And so that's why we got involved in games, because it's from the game industry. And so it's very easy for me to see the future where all this user-generated content, they actually can get paid in game. And so that helps. Our system kind of helps that, and we're trying to help that along. So that's the biggest thing. I think the scariest thing is that we may all be out of jobs, but we're just doing what we want and getting paid for it. And it's going to be weird because AI is doing all the hard stuff. So I don't know if that's 2024, though.
Not yet. All right. Thank you for each of our panelists for their insights, for sharing their vision, for a big round of applause for our panelists. Yeah. And
Hello, hello,
Hello, hello.
hello.
Cool. Okay, great. Welcome to the Gaming Gold Rush panel. So with new technologies such as Web3 and AI, gaming is seeing a new way of integrating technology to benefit both developers and users. Web3 is seeing a wave of adoption, and AI is seeing transformative ways of being integrated into game development. So welcome to our panel, who will be talking about this. If you guys would like to introduce yourselves, and then we can jump into the discussion. Josh, would you like to go for it?
Sure. Yeah. So actually, I'm not a VC. I think I'm maybe the only one up here that's not. So I'm with Optimism. Optimism is a layer 2 on top of the EVM. We happen to give out grants through the foundation and through the collective, fairly sizable grants. And gaming is one of the subverticals. I myself work on strategy and partnerships, specifically overlooking right now the way that we're building out our AI strategy in blockchain, and then use cases on top of that, including gaming.
Hi everyone. Super excited to be here. One sec, this is falling. All right, so I previously co-founded a company in gaming and AI. It's called Senpai. It's a real-time gaming assistant for video gamers, analyzing the gameplay in real time and making some suggestions so that you can beat your opponents. We also provide some post-game feedback for you to improve your overall gameplay. We joined Y Combinator and we gained some traction. But I joined Orange.DAO a year ago. I'm a senior venture partner at Orange.DAO now.
Awesome. Thanks, Berg. Hi, everybody. This is KJ from One Piece Labs, and we're like VC, early stage VC, and incubator based in the Bay Area. My office is in Palo Alto, so if you have any cool idea, please say hi to me, and happy to meet you in Palo Alto. And by the way, before I pass the mic, I can imagine like 2 years ago, if a group of VC here, people gonna sit down and listen to us. But apparently, like the VC are losing powers to the influencers. If we say we are like group of influencers here, I have like 50K followers on Twitter, so I probably bring more financial power, to the founders. We're gonna try better. Trust us. VC is gonna be back. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm Fred, Funfair Ventures, one of the partners. We're a private VC, and basically I focus in gaming investments in the Web3 space. Yep.
Oh, now it's
that's
much
better.
better.
Yeah, sorry.
So sorry, I'll repeat myself. So Fred from Funfair Ventures, we're a private VC, and basically I focus in investments in Web3 gaming.
Great. Hello, my name is Miko. I'm with Gumi Cryptos Capital. We're an early stage pure play blockchain venture capital firm, and we led the strategic seed stage round into OpenSea, seed stage, yield guild games, and we do other non-gaming things like 1inch and a bunch of other, early blockchain projects. So, we're investing out of our $110 million fund too now. So we're excited to be here.
Cool, thank you. And we just wanted to break the panel down a little bit and start off talking about the infrastructure. So firstly, talking about the tech stacks overall, we're at the convergence of a lot of already new industries merging together to form yet even more new ecosystems. So let's take a step back a little bit and talk about these in a bit more detail. And starting with blockchain and AI and the overlap between the two. And maybe Josh, I can kick off with you on that one.
Yeah, that's great. So I think one of the big things right now that is quietly talked about in the blockchain community, but it's probably not very open, is that we have no clue how to merge a lot of what's happening deeper than wrappers of LLMs, text-to-video, text-to-image models. So when we think about the actual AI vertical, especially at Optimism right now, we're looking at teams that are building at the app layer, which is basically any surface level application, which a lot of the gaming community will use. But then once you go like one step deeper than that, and you actually start to look at the data layer, particularly with data availability, and then even one step below that with compute, which is largely done off-chain, there's a lot of question marks in terms of how you actually implement that. And so I'll be honest, like as a whole, it's something we're putting a lot of effort towards ourselves, and a couple of our peers are putting the same effort towards understanding those 3 layers in particular. And we have within each of those areas that we're looking at in terms of agents, agent framework, agent orchestration, indexing, payments, peer-to-peer payments, again, data storage. So all of those have use cases that, to be honest, are not crystal clear. So I'm excited for the panel, but I would say at a baseline, there's a lot of things that are still being very heavily researched, and it's not even just us. I had dinner with someone from the Ethereum Foundation 2 nights ago. They're working on papers. So I say that because the use case that I think we'll talk about is fantastic, but the reality is there's a lot of room for growth. There's a lot of room for builders, especially deeper down the stack for developers.
And Burke, I know you wanted to jump on that topic as well, so please go for
Yeah, I
it.
can add a few other topics here. So I think in the short term, we will see bunch of dApps utilizing AI models. It could be LLMs, it could be ML, whatever it is. But we will see more and more dApps are utilizing AI. It means that we will see smart contracts are using AI. They are calling AI models to gain some data. So I believe in the short term, we will need better oracles to be able to integrate AI into smart contracts. And this is one of the hottest areas in the marriage of AI and crypto right now, like the oracle problem. It's going to be very, very important. About the usage of crypto in AI, I'm like focusing on the AI right now. I think the crypto will be the infrastructure itself. So we will see a bunch of AI models running on blockchain, stored on blockchain, executing on blockchain. So blockchain will be the infrastructure for AI itself.
Cool. Do you want to jump on that as well?
Yeah, so my take is really fairly simple, which is that the internet, so-called Web 2, right, is broken. Web 2 is broken, right? And so what is broken? The security model is broken, right? What else is broken? The privacy model is broken, right? So Web 2 is broken, right? So how do we fix Web 2? We fix it with Web 3, which is we fix it with blockchain, cryptography, decentralization, privacy, zero knowledge proofs, multi-party computation, novel cryptographic primitives. We're fixing it. We're fixing the broken internet. Now, what does AI have to do with it? Actually, AI makes everything broken about the internet 10 times worse, and it actually helps accelerate the death of Web 2. So Web 2 is already dying, and AI is going to finish it off. Like right now, when we look at the web, we say, why do I trust? So Google crawler looks at the internet and says, I read it on a web page, it must be true. That's what Google crawler thinks. That's why Google crawler is going to fail, right? Because in the age of AI is writing landing pages. It's going to write 60 billion landing pages, and Google crawler is going to crawl them all and say, I read it on the internet, I think it must be true, right? So to me, without Web3, cryptography, blockchain, novel cryptographic primitives, we can't fix the internet. And all AI is doing is accelerating the demise of Web 2, creating more fake content and fake news and deep fakes and fake everything, right? So I just feel like, in a way, the AI is like a wish-granting genie, right? And if you've ever heard any story about a wish-granting genie, you better be a good prompt engineer, because that genie is going to take your wish and twist it and make it something horrible, right? And so I like to think that blockchain is a bottle that can contain the genie, right? It's the only thing that can control and contain these new creatures that now exist among us. So that's my hot take.
Cool. And just moving on to like AI and the overlap with gaming, and talking about the infrastructure of AI, not so much the applications, and just wanted to get your views on what's happening and where it's going. If somebody would like to take this one.
Yeah, I can do one, like AI plus Web3 plus gaming plus everything, right? So there's a use case. What's the use case for the AI in Web 2? That's a chatbot, right? That's a chat. Hello? Oh, yeah, I still got it. All right. There's a chat box. This chat GPT, right? You ask something, you get some answers, and it's really smart and smarter than your EA, whatever. So what about Web3? So it's still like a chat box, but it's like chat character. So if you go to Sandbox or Upland, I'm sorry, it's like a dead city, you know, like the characters, the NPCs are not moving around. Maybe they're moving around, but they're not like smart enough to interact with you. So if we plus more AI to the metaverse, we can make metaverse a real city. It's not just like 3D version of some like game. Can make like real city, can make like real connections. Maybe you can see two NPCs like fighting each other, like fist fighting. You're just watching. It's a lot of fun, right? So I think if we plus AI to Web3 plus game, and it can make like a real game world, and people can, you know, adapt to the Web3 games. They don't have to know this is like Web3 game, but at least it's metaverse. You know, it's a lot of fun. So that's one use case I can think of right now.
Cool. And maybe I can ask the same question about blockchain and the gaming overlap. And Fred, maybe I can.
I guess, I think a little bit like you said, correct? I think there's a lot of potential for, you know, AI providing a lot of issues in across the internet and apps and websites. And I think having the blockchain, you know, controlling the authenticity of the content and controlling the, you know, generation of content is super important. And I think that's where I see a lot of application of AI with the blockchain technology, and proving that the content that you generate is actually not AI generated.
I do want to throw a softball to Federico, which is he's from Funfair, right? And one of the things that's really important about the concept of a game is that a game has rules, right? And a game is fun. And why is the game fun? It's because the game is fair, right? So computer games are fun. And why are computer games fun? Is they're fun because the computer is the adjudicator of the rules, right? Which means that the computer is going to be neutral. It's going to be fair, right? So to me, when you think about blockchain, blockchain has the potential of actually making the whole world fun and making the whole world into a game and making the whole world fair, right? Which is really interesting. So, you know, I feel like that's the potential.
Can I reply back to
Yeah,
that?
please go for it.
So I'm not sure how many know about it, but Funfair was actually created 7 years ago to build the first casino on Ethereum. And actually the name is quite simple because we were building a casino that was supposed to be fun, but it was fair because all of the games were actually running on smart contracts on the blockchain. So anyone could actually see that the result wasn't being defined by the casino, and anyone could see what was happening. So that was the part of the fair, and I have to agree on that, correct?
Good one. Great. And so bringing all of these together, let's talk a little bit about the intersection between Web3, blockchain, gaming, and AI. How do you guys see it as shaping the future of gaming? Yeah, please go for it.
I think we talked about a lot of stuff with AI. My view on the gaming space in Web3 is that there's still a lot of stuff to be figured out. We don't know how games will work properly in Web3. You know, what solutions will the players like. And I think where I see AI or Gen AI coming in is actually accelerating the pipeline of creating games content and also reducing the cost to market of a lot of game studios, allowing for a faster to market game and a lower cost, and that will accelerate the Web3 adoption because we can try harder and faster new content.
Cool, thank you. Anyone else like to take this one? KJ, go for it.
All right, so I gotta say something. If you don't like it, you can go to there and get a pizza, all right? So for right now, all right, for all the games, you know, the founders, I cannot say 100%. The majority of the founders, the game Web3, like GameFi founders, they wanna raise a lot of money and pay them really well and rock. Okay, and what about the gamers? Non-gamers today, like today, I don't think any gamers today are really coming to Web3 to play games. Everybody just want to trade the gears and get airdrop 100x. So this is the current status, and I don't like it. But I invest in stuff like GameFi. Anyway, so what we can do about it? So there's one game, Dark Forest. I'm sorry, I'm pretty dumb. I kind of lost to my like 10-year-old friend, on any computer games. I'm not smart enough to play Dark Forest, but actually it proved we can use some like a ZK stuff into the game and make the game really fun. So if I gonna invest the next Web3 game, not GameFi, because GameFi is like little game, 5% game and 95% of fi. If I want to invest in the next like Web3 game, it's gonna be very fun, built on the basics of like the blockchain. For example, immutability, right? And decentralization and asset exchange. They have to build on the fundamental of the blockchain and show why this game using those fundamentals and make the game so fun. So that's something I'm looking, and this is the challenge for the industry. And I expect like a lot of like gaming investors, right? You can find some really good founders and solve the problem, not just another XX5. Yeah.
Cool. Does anyone else want to respond on that?
Yeah, I think I can add a few points. First of all, as a VC and like we have seen many gaming projects, I would like to give a shout out to KJ. To be honest, I'm a gamer myself, and I don't like the word Web3 gaming. I think games are games, and if you use crypto to make games better, that's what we are looking for, right? So that's why I don't like the specific term of Web3 gaming, especially the play to earn. We just need games utilizing crypto to make the experience better for gamers. Like referring to AI and crypto in gaming, I think we are in an era that 20 years from now, or even just 10 years from now, so we will remember these games right now as ancient history. I think it's going to be a huge change it's going to be a next generation game, so they will be quite different. It's going to be like the movies in 1930s, like black and white movies, compared to movies of today. And long story short, crypto and AI will make games dynamic and much more interactive. So it's going to be a completely different experience.
Yeah, I think actually to build on that, one thing that's really interesting, I think you can use a lot of financial use cases that actually happen with blockchain as kind of indicators of things that could be adopted later on by gaming. And to build on that a little bit, so agents as a whole in the space, there's a team that we're working closely with called OLAS that's trying to do prediction models in finance with blockchain. That may not sound like it has anything to do with gaming, but in the future, if you have NPCs that actually have their own marketplaces that are doing transactions with tokens, probably with some stablecoin, you're going to have an economy place that allows the agents themselves or the NPCs themselves that are agentic to actually have transactions. And doing that through chains, especially with very low cost chains such as Optimism, et cetera, is going to evolve the landscape drastically. Those are kind of like pipe dream 3 or 4 year things for sure.
Cool. And so now that we've looked at the infrastructure, what are some of the challenges that you're seeing in integrating AI, and the same for integrating blockchain into gaming? And maybe, I think, Fred, you wanted to speak on this one.
I think the biggest problem that I see, well, 2 parts to this. In the last 6 years, I've not seen a lot of change. So I remember when we started our casino 6 years ago, it was hard for a player to be onboarded. We did a lot of work back then to improve that. Nowadays, what I see is a lot of fragmentation. I see a lot of projects that don't really know where to go to get into the Web3 space, because they could go to this chain, this wallet, that wallet. It's really hard for them. Instead of seeing a little bit of non-decentralization, or at least a little bit of bigger players proving what works, I see a lot of different offerings, and I just see people getting lost, not sure how am I going to come from the Web 2 into Web 3. And if you don't get Web 2 game developers into the Web 3 space, it's going to happen what we've been talking, which is not fun games, because there's an experience there.
So actually, I can address that on the blockchain front, because we know all about that. So the great thing, shameless plug, like Optimism, same with Arbitrum, same with all the chains as a whole know that fractured liquidity, again, finance example, but it'll be the same with gaming because you just have data passing from chain to chain. There's no difference whether it's finance or it's a skin for a game. And so a lot of us are working on what's called native interoperability within our own chains, within our broader ecosystems. So for example, with Optimism, we have what's called the super chain, which is basically the idea of like horizontally, you've got thousands of L2s, layer 2 chains. We actually just onboarded the first team. I think that is one of our first like super chain teams. That's a gaming team, Aether Labs, doing a game called Cypher. But in theory, they'll have their own game, which we'll be able to connect to, bear with me as I say this, Coinbase's base, Zora, Mode, Frax, like finance. Basically, you can just imagine any company in the future would have a chain, and in theory, you'll have like a native message passing between these chains. And that's actually how we get to like a decentralized internet, which again seems like a stretch, but that's our long-term goal, is building a decentralized internet where you can pass information from one chain to the next and not go through that exact issue. And I do think that's something that's a problem for the space as a whole too. I think a lot of conversation came up about like multi-chain and moving things from chain to chain. But I think it's very important that developers talk to chains that have already thought through some of these problems and try to, again, finance is a great example. We go through, very common, we go through bridge hacks a lot in finance. So you'll try to move $1 from one chain to another chain and you have to wrap it and someone attacks that bridge and they drain all the funds. We've learned the hard way with finance on chain that you don't want to have bridge attacks, and the last thing that you'd want is to put gaming on chains and have the same attacks happen where all of your skins are drained. Again, all of your NFTs are drained, et cetera. So I'd say it's very important for developers to look at the ecosystems. Again, Optimism is great. Our competitors are doing the same, that are trying to build this multi-chain future where they're accounting for the future where there will be all these other existing chains. Because if you're going to go from one native L1 to one native L1 to one native L1, yes, you're going to have a nightmare. But a lot of people are trying to build on top of those L1s to these multi-chain future.
Great, thank you. And so to move on a little bit to you guys' experience, there's a lot of hype around AI and has been around Web3. So how do you guys assess which projects are successful in implementing the technology and not just adding it to their pitches? Yes, Miko, I know you had a lot to say on that.
Yeah, I'm very opinionated about buzzword bingo, right? Which is, I'm very obsessive about conviction, right? So in a sense, I'm really interested in entrepreneurs who kind of really stick to what they're doing, right? Because I feel like opportunities are a dime a dozen. So I always ask an entrepreneur, why are you doing what you're doing, right? I once asked an entrepreneur 3 times, why are you doing this? And every single time the entrepreneur said, it's a great opportunity. And then I said to them, no, really, why are you doing this? And it's like, it's a great opportunity. 3rd time, I was like, okay, you're lost, right? Because when the bear market hits, your best opportunity is going to be running your dad's chain of sandwich shops. Like, you're going to leave, right? So to me, like, a lot of the AI plus blockchain startups are kind of crap, right? Because they're just getting their bingo card and they're just throwing AI, throwing blockchain, hoping to, like, you know, win some venture capital, right? So, like, to me, like, people should have conviction because entrepreneurship is insanely hard and changing the world is insanely hard. So if you don't believe in what you're doing, then go ahead and quit and do something else. But don't try to raise VC or do a startup.
You go for it. And then
So
I
guess because I focus in gaming, I hate the buzzwords. I think that when you start talking to me about technology, instead of talking to me about the game, you're lost. I basically probably end the call in 5 minutes because there's no point, correct? If you don't have excitement about the game you're trying to do, then you're just here for the tokens, correct? If the conversation starts with, yeah, we're making a token, we're launching a token, yeah, and it's NFTs and all of that stuff, and it's AI, it's Gen AI, and it's a metaverse, and VR, and AR, and then that's it, end of conversation. It's a game, correct? It needs to be a good game.
Cool. Yeah, KJ, go for it.
Yeah, so I think Miko just mentioned the 3 whys, right? Why you're doing this. I have my version of 3 whys, a little bit different, but including, like Miko just said, you know, like, why this, why you, and why now? So that's the question I always ask my, you know, like, potential founders. So, like, why you, why this team doing this? So right before this panel, I was having dinner with another engineer from Afterpay. and they are trying to do the RWA. They're trying to do like a big picture. Something like Coinbase won't even touch it. So why you want to do this? Why this team want to do this? You're not like executives from Coinbase. You cannot lobby all the people in the DC. So why you want to do this like RWA related project? So not the right team. Maybe not the right team. And why this? And Miko just mentioned why this? Why you want to do this? Is this just like good opportunity? And why now? Why at this time you want to do this? Why can we wait for another year? So if you can answer those questions and put into your deck, but it's not just list like why this, why us, why this, why now. You don't do that. But after reading the 10 pages deck, I can understand, oh, this is a team at the right place, at the right time, doing the right thing. I think it's like, you don't have to say more. I think we can, as a VC, I know, okay, we need to proceed. We need to do the second meeting. We need to do diligence. We need to go to the data room, find out more. So I think this is like the kicker, 3 whys. Thank you.
Burke, I know you wanted to mention something on this as well.
Oh yeah, so we are looking at the fundamentals. So let's say it's the game and that applied to our fellowship program, our VC. We are definitely looking for fundamentals like the number of users, the retention rate. Our people are actually enjoying it rather than focusing on the technology, the buzzwords, etc. By the way, let me tell you something very interesting. This is like off the record. Like we get thousands of applications in every 6 months. We have batches, and this gives us a room to do some different analysis based on the applications because we get written applications, right? There's a huge correlation between rejections and the number of buzzwords in the application. The most quality of applications are definitely leaner, avoiding using buzzwords like AI-driven, next generation, patent pending, so on and so forth. So it was kind of very interesting. We are not using AI to make decisions. It's driven by our team, but we used AI to make some analysis, and we detected a huge correlation between rejections and the number of buzzwords in the application.
Cool. And this question I want to throw out to all the panelists. What do you guys look for? What do VCs look for when it comes to games that have integrated AI or Web3? What are like the key things that you guys look for?
I couldn't hear you.
I said, what are the key things that you guys look for when it comes to projects that are pitching to you that have integrated AI or Web3? What are some of the key things that you look for?
Is the game fun?
I'll say again on the optimism side. So I'm not a VC. When you talk to Optimism, there's a couple of ways that you can get funding through us. If you go through our governance process or through Retro PGF, you don't talk to me. You talk to thousands of other token holders, and you have to tell them why it's valid. To be honest, it's a slightly different use case or a slightly different approach towards token allocation with us versus the rest.
Yeah. Please.
Sorry, just so that it wasn't just a joke. I think one of the things that we look at is when we look at gaming projects in the Web3 space, do people understand the actual size of the Web3 space, of the market in Web3? Because I think people get confused with crypto and the financial market and the volume of those markets compared to the Web3 gaming market. So what actually is important is for them to understand what they're targeting. And when they start talking about just Web3, I had someone, we were talking about casinos, someone said that every crypto person is a gambler. And I actually know for a fact that that's not true. The Venn diagram between anything Web3 and an area, except for finance, is very small. So that's what I look at. Do you really understand the size of the market that you're addressing? And if it's a game, then I hope they're actually looking at gamers and not just crypto fanatic people.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Do you want to answer on this? KJ, do you want to answer on that one?
Like I mentioned about the game, the same thing to all the projects. Don't do another ABC file or XX file. Just do something, like why you want to use blockchain to do that. And that's the fundamental. And also, In the Web2 world, when we go to the YC, Y Combinator, we always hear about this. Where the Alibaba in United States? Where the Amazon in China or something? It worked out, and actually I appreciate that. I respect that. I love it. But you cannot see. I'm the GMX on whatever chain. Just GMX. Arbitrum is not that far away from ZK Sync. It's not like China and US, right? So if you want to build something, do move your stuff around, and don't be the bounty hunter. Don't be the airdrop grantor or something. So just do something fun. Back to the basic. Find the problem. Find where the money is. Okay, so be true to yourself. Find where money is. Layer 2 has a lot of money, right? Find where the money is and find a problem and solve a problem. And don't think this is a just good opportunity. This is something you have the passion. Like startup, like entrepreneurship is super hard, and you should have the passion. You should be the right people at the right time, do the right thing. So think through everything together, and you have a cool idea and find good partners. I think this is good. This is step one, day one of you successful entrepreneurship. Yeah.
I do want to close on a little bit of a note here, which is that if you know the origin story of Ethereum, the origin story essentially is that Vitalik was playing a lot of World of Warcraft while he was writing for Bitcoin magazine. And what happened was that he was playing a warlock, and he was using a style, affliction style, effectively drain tanking, where he would throw his drain life. And basically what happened is that Blizzard, the game company, nerfed the healing component of drain life, and it messed with his warlock playstyle, right? And so actually Vitalik got so depressed that he actually created an entire idea of how to govern software updates using a decentralized network and taking the power away from kind of the centralized controllers, right? So in essence, the reason why I'm relating this story is because I actually believe that in the Web3 gaming world, the tail ends up wagging the dog. And what I mean by the tail wags the dog is I think what happens in this story is I think that Bitcoin goes to $250,000, right? Ethereum goes to $50,000. And basically, Ethereum super whales show up at GDC with boatloads of cash, and they tell game designers, let's build games, and let's build real serious multi-$100 million games with mega whale money. So I think the tail wags the dog. That's my thesis.
Thank you. Does anyone add any last comments?
I agree 100% with what you said, and I think this year my biggest concern, and I've said it to you, Mel, today, my biggest concern is that crypto going up, the quality of the projects is not going to improve, because it's all about the tokens, it's about the quick buck out of a big project. And as you said, big projects take a lot of money, but they also take a lot of time, and there's a lot of people with more money than sense. And that's not actually making the Web3 gaming space better.
Cool. Okay, we're going to have to wrap up here, but thank you guys for joining the panel, and thanks everyone for listening. Thank you very much.